It's a pleasure to talk to you to start with. The
Nice to meet
thing of
you.
you too, like I'm really curious working on a project like this and working with Pete Davidson, where you've got him both writing and starring. What is that conversation like, especially when it comes down to the performance? How do you two talk about a performance like this?
I mean, this show is very autobiographical. So it's like, so many of the things that we are dealing in are based in factual aspects of Pete's life. So I think a lot of like what we're doing is to try to capture the truth of what really went down in a certain situation, even if we're doing an exaggerated or heightened version of something. I think at the core of everything that we're telling within this show is based in something that's actually connected to a real aspect of Pete's life. So I think that that's like the number one thing that we were aiming for when we're talking about performances. And finding grounded, relatable realism even within the most absurd moments, I think is part of what makes the show work.
Absolutely. It's awesome seeing where you've obviously dialed things up a bit. And I'm curious in terms of that, did you have kind of a mental note that's like, okay, well, these are the types of things that we're gonna have to really amp up, or did it just come like you have to find those moments that make the most sense?
I mean, I think that one of the things that when we were initially discussing what we wanted the show to be was that we didn't want to put any boundaries on what the show could do. So I think like trying to come up with something that was the the thing that made us laugh the hardest or the thing that made us feel the most was always the objective. So I think that those moments that we wanted to heighten or exaggerate were clear to us because it was always like chasing whatever was the most entertaining to us. And we didn't want to put any limits on what this show could be or do. And I think that's part of what led us to this like very erratic shifting tone that you see with between episodes and sometimes even within episodes.
What is Pete like to work with as a creator, like from the creator side of this? What are those conversations like?
I mean, he's so much fun to collaborate with. I'd say that this was like one of the most joyful experiences I've had creatively. Pete and I have become very close friends. Pete is someone that I think people that gravitate towards Pete recognize that he has, he's sort of without any sort of filter. There's an authenticity to him, and when you're in his orbit, you become very, very close with him very fast. So I think that like part of what's exciting about this show is I think that people that are interested in learning more about Pete or wonder what it would be like to be in his orbit are going to gain that through this series.
You have such an amazing cast, and there's not enough time to talk about everyone because Edie Falco is phenomenal. But Joe Pesci really grounds this series, and he's so integral. What did it take to get him on board for this?
I honestly, it's like, I think we're all just, I'd say that this show feels like a fever dream. And the fact that we got Joe Pesci feels like part of a very good fever dream. People said it was impossible. They said it wasn't going to be something that we could do. And it's like many things that Pete says, he somehow willed it to happen. Joe and Pete formed an incredible, almost like real grandfather type relationship with Pete that you see in the show, and that's something that went beyond the show it was apparent on set as well. So I think that like Joe and Pete just naturally vibed off each other, and we lucked out and somehow got the impossible, greatest actor of all time to be in our show, even as ridiculous as our show is, which it feels impossible. That's the only way I can answer that question.
Well, just quickly, one question is, how do you get so many people in a series like this? Because the list of people that appear in this is shocking. How do you even fit them in or find the time, or how does that even work?
I mean, like it's like we're really fortunate that Pete draws a lot of interest, and I think a lot of people were interested in what this show could be. People responded to the material, which was incredibly validating to us and humbling to us. But I think that this show is unique in that it's doing so many different things. It has so many different ingredients to appeal to so many different people that I think that a lot of very incredible actors recognized that there was a good time to be had in this show. And so that there was something fun to be a part of. And we wanted to create a show that would be a good platform for a lot of amazing talent to come in and have fun with us.
Amazing. Thank you so much for the time. I really appreciate it.
Thank you.